Jai Shri Ram. Hello folks. Very, very serious business today. This new bill that's been introduced, amendments to the Waqf Act 1995. I would have preferred if they just repealed the whole damn thing. I really mean it. That whole act itself is so horrendously flawed that I can't understand how did the law ministry even pass it? How did the Congress government ever even consider it, let alone implement it? Was the law ministry asleep? Or were they drunk when they passed this? I mean, what kind of nonsense is this? For instance, I think it's Article 40 in that Act, which says a Waqf person or anybody can go and put his hand on any property and say this is Waqf property, and it became their property, which means the claimant, the council, the tribunal, the judge are all the same people. Which country in the world ever had such a law? Except maybe in feudal times, when all the man said was off with his head and it toppled. Isn't this the same thing? And nobody said a word about it all these years? 1995 to 2024, not a word against it? What's the matter with this country? I mean, I've said, and I repeat, and this time you better believe it, the Congress party has always been the Muslim League under a non-Muslim sounding name. And this Waqf Act 1995 proves it beyond all shadow of doubt and for all time. Nobody knew about it, or its impact, or its repercussions. Until about 2 years ago, 6 villages in a district in Tamil Nadu, in Tiruchendurai district, were claimed by the Waqf board. It was transferred in the register to the Waqf board, and nobody knew about it. The Waqf board claimed it. It becomes Waqf property, and nobody knows about it. Not even the actual owners. What kind of nonsense is this? And nobody knew about it until one of the people sold off some of his land to raise money for his daughter's wedding. He found a buyer, accepted the money, went to transfer it to the other person. He was told to get an NOC from the Waqf board. It wasn't his property, it seems. Now, if this isn't draconian, what is it? They claimed land belonging to a temple which is 1500 years old. It's been there since long before Islam came into being. And yet this becomes Waqf property? How? Who gave it to them? And yet, not a word about it. We still don't know what happened to it. What is the Waqf? What is it? What does it constitute? Let's get one thing straight. The Waqf board is not a religious body. It has nothing to do with religion or Islam or anything else. Sorry, it doesn't. It is a land holding agency. Basically, in case you've forgotten, the Razakars around Hyderabad just after 1947, when they created mayhem, murders, slaughter and so on around Hyderabad, whatever property they had, they gave to the Waqf board and disappeared to Pakistan. Why? 56 Islamic countries, not one of them has anything called a Waqf board. Pakistan does not have one, nor does Bangladesh. Why is there one in India? Nobody questioned that? Why? What kind of nonsense is this? I mean, appeasing Muslims. Isn't it gone a little stupid now? Bending over backwards and doing backward rolls? Why? They're not happy here, get out. Pakistan and Bangladesh, what is now Bangladesh, were created for you. Get out. Why are you still here? And if you say here because this is a better place for you to live, then live according to our laws. Not your Sharia laws. You want Sharia laws? There are 56 other countries where Islamic law is enforced. I suggest you go there. You don't belong here. In case you've forgotten, Nehru in his ignorance or stupidity said in 1947, Muslims who wanted to stay here may do so as citizens of India. If you are a citizen of India, you come under Indian law, not Sharia law. You don't like the idea of being under Indian law, get out. You don't belong here. You don't deserve to be a citizen of India. Just get that straight. And all you others who are not Muslims, the vast majority, get up off your behind and get this through into your thick skulls. Do you want what happened in Bangladesh in 1971? Do you want what's happening there today? When Hindus are being sought out, slaughtered, the girls and women are being raped. You want that happening here? Well, it's happening in the UK also. Go to places like Rotherham, Rochdale, and Leeds. Find out there. Find out what happens there to local British girls. Make your hair curl. Get one thing straight. All you Muslims, behave yourselves as per Indian law. You don't respect it, get out. That's my advice. Because we are sick, tired and fed up of bending over backwards. Either you behave yourselves or there will be repercussions. Now, to get back to this Waqf Act 1995, not only does any property they put their finger on get transferred to their names according as per that act, there is no place you can go for redressal except the Waqf Tribunal. You can't go to the district court, not the sessions court, not the high court, nor even the Supreme Court. And remember, according to that act, the decision of the Waqf Tribunal is final. It cannot be challenged anywhere as per the act. Why? Why were Hindus or other non-Muslims being subjected to Sharia law? Because the Waqf Tribunal consisted of a 7-member bench. One IAS officer, one MP, one MLA, one advocate, one cleric, one mutwalli and one town planner. Every one a Muslim. Why? When they start putting their finger on non-Muslim property or government property, which obviously cannot be Muslim property, why is it all subject to Sharia law? Now these are the stupid parts of that act which need urgent redressal. Either amend it or repeal the whole act totally, in toto. What is the BJP trying to do in this new amendment bill? First, they're trying to tell us that it is not the Waqf tribunal, but you should find redressal in the High Court or the Supreme Court, not the Waqf tribunal. Two, and basically this, when the Waqf board puts their finger on a particular property, who owns that property? Was it given to them by the owner of that property? Or does a third party come and say, I give you this land, and it isn't even his to give? Third party comes and says, your house or your land is on Waqf property, and you've given it to the Waqf board. It has happened in Ghaziabad. Now, these are the stupid parts of our own government system. What the Congress party has done for decades and really made a real mess of everything. A horrendous mess up. Things which need sorting out, and quickly. Now the BJP first is trying to say redressal must be through the High Court, not through the Waqf Tribunal. And even the Waqf Tribunal's decision one should be able to challenge it in the High Court and the Supreme Court, as you would normally. Because under the present law, you cannot challenge the Waqf board's or the Waqf Tribunal's word anywhere. Their decision is final. Which means for all practical purposes, India has been under Sharia law since 1995 for all land deals. Now you think, behind the railways and the defence, the Waqf board is the largest landholder in India. The value of their land is probably worth more than what the Adanis and the Ambanis and Birlas and Tatas have all put together. 9 lakh acres of land is not a joke, it's not a small amount. And I burn inside to understand, how did this happen? How is it allowed to happen? Especially when this doesn't happen in any other country in the world, not even in an Islamic country. Why does it happen here? Unless, what I've said in one of my earlier videos, that Nehru Gandhi family has been trying to turn India into an Islamic country as fast as possible. And they're doing it, not just through this Waqf Act 1995, but also the certification, halal certification. You think of the amount of money collected. 900,000 acres of land. How much should it bring in terms of revenue? Per annum, 25, 30, 50,000 crores. And yet they claim it's only 200 crores. Where's the rest of the money going? Which means it has been taken over by a mafia, which collects all this money and very quietly sorts it away somewhere. What is it used for? Well, we can see what it's being used for. Building of mosques, chain of mosques, madrasas, chains of help for Bangladeshis to settle here, to increase Muslim population, in an eventual takeover of India. I'm not joking. If you think I am, have a look at Bangladesh, have a look at the UK. So-called immigrants are beginning to take over large parts of the UK. If you don't want that to happen here, wake up, open your eyes, get up off your behind. Find out where these illegal migrants are, send them packing. If you're not prepared to help yourself, don't expect anybody else to do it for you. Anyway, let's get back to this Waqf Act. First, this question of wherever they put their finger becomes their property, that rubbish has to be repealed. It must go. You cannot have this. They just say it's mine. There must be some way of proving, is it really theirs? In any case, what is the Waqf supposed to be there for? They may only take land which is gifted to them freely by the people concerned, by the owners of that property. They do not have the right or should not have the right to go and say this is Waqf property, which is what they're doing today. And the Waqf Act 1995 allows them to do it. Full freedom. Now you understand the full effect of that very, very draconian law. And who passed it? Narasimha Rao, a Congress person who was supposed to be an intelligent man, spoke 6 languages and so on. And he passed this? And we didn't even know about it until a couple of years ago? And you're beginning to wonder, this wonderful Congress party, you still vote for them? Another amendment which this BJP wants in this bill, which they presented yesterday. A statute of limitations should apply. Meaning, something which has been sitting there for 1500 years, how can the Waqf board claim this is our property? Or on our land? Temple lands which belonged to the temple for centuries, long before Islam came into being, how can that become Waqf property? Who gave it to them? Do you have the gift deed? Why? Now how did it become Waqf land? And you see, the worst part is, the Waqf board takes over all this property and the owner doesn't even get 1 rupee as compensation. It doesn't mean you should go and say, okay, here's 1 rupee, you got your compensation. That is not what I mean. They take it over free of charge. And the people whose property it was, what happens to them? And you see some of the properties they have claimed. The Ambani residence in Mumbai, Antilia. They have claimed the Mathura temple land. The land on which the Somnath temple in Gujarat stands. The Surat Municipal Corporation offices building. And a whole lot of other places. In fact, they have now claimed in Burhanpur, the son of Shah Jahan, I think one of his sons was named Shuja. His wife's mausoleum. They claimed that. Why? How? Was the Waqf board even alive? Had it even been formed then? Or did Shuja or his Begum give the land over to him? When? How did it become Waqf property? Tomorrow they'll claim the land of the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, Jama Masjid. Anywhere else? What kind of nonsense is this? I'm sorry, land doesn't belong to them. And if they start claiming this, how come? Which of those folk actually gave it to the Waqf board? Were they even alive? Was there even a Waqf board then? And remember, the Waqf is not a religious organization. Let me stress this. It has nothing to do with Islam or religion. It may not interfere in any religious activities. It is meant to hold that land. Any income coming from it was supposed to be used to help poor and needy, people like widows, people like divorced ladies who have no alimony or no maintenance money coming in. How do they look after themselves or their children? Because their former husbands have just thrown them out. These are the people who need help, and these should have helped them. Now, another thing I don't understand is this, and I'm hoping it will also be amended. All expenses of the Waqf board are paid for by the central government or the state governments, from your tax money and my tax money. Why? Why is my tax money being used to take away my land and throw me on the streets? You may think that's funny. I am not amused. I mean, come on, let's get real. We've had a lot of rubbish from the opposition in Parliament. Maybe somebody ought to take them out and teach them a few home truths about what that act is all about. Take away their land and throw them on the streets and put up the Waqf notice there. Let's see how they like it. Trust me, it's not funny. And this review of the Waqf Act 1995 is long overdue. Believe me, it is long overdue. I would be very happy if they repeal the whole thing, because that's what it deserves. It's like handing over the whole of every square inch of land in India to the Waqf board or to Muslims, free of charge. The money they get from this income and the halal certification, all sorts of nefarious activities like love jihad and land grab and you name it, go on. Now please, don't let this get out of hand. Do something. Whether it's the state government or the central government, you've taken a welcome step. I'm hoping at least non-Muslims will understand. People like Mr. Owaisi get up in Parliament and say, oh, it's against Muslims. It's nothing to do with Muslims. But it is to do with all the land in this country, which is owned by a whole lot of private individuals, which is being taken over. And taken over under the protection of the law. Why? What kind of law is this? I mean, these are only some of the things. But that whole Waqf Act 1995 needs to be looked at carefully and, if possible, repealed totally. If not, at least all these things to be amended. It also says, the amendments also say, you must have ladies on those Waqf things, on those Waqf boards, and Waqf tribunal as well. I say, why not? Much of the help is needed by ladies, widows, divorcees, especially those with children. Why does the government have to look after them when the Waqf board and the Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind, they have all this money? Why are they not looking after them? Why is my tax money going there? Maybe a lot of us should ask this question. More of it. Now, every one of those on the Waqf tribunal are Muslims. Why? Supposing you go to a state like Manipur, Tripura. Supposing all the MPs from there are Christian. How can you have one of them on the Waqf board, tribunal in that state? Which means you can't have a quorum. You may not bring in somebody from outside the state. I'm sorry. So again, it needs changing. Certain other things. Why are there no women on these boards in each state? Ladies must be represented because they need help. And this is where some of the help, or a good chunk of the help, can come from. Instead of it being channeled into all sorts of, how shall I put it, nasty activities. Why not this? And all that debate in Parliament, I think all those opposition states, all those opposition MPs which will be taken to their constituencies and giving a hell of a paddling, so that they're made to understand what happens when things get out of hand. This is one issue they should keep their mouths shut over and let the government do what they have wanted to do, what the whole country needs. Because it doesn't matter whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Christian or anybody else. So far the Waqf board has been taking over everybody's land and they don't even know about it. Is this correct? Is this right? Should it be happening? And if we don't take action over this, remember what's happening in Bangladesh now and what's happening in the UK. UK is just a small number of Muslims. See what they're doing to locals. See what they did to Hindus a year ago in the UK. See what they're doing to Hindus in Bangladesh today. And it's not something that can't happen here. If it happens in one or two states, it'll spread like wildfire. And it'll start a civil war. You want that? Because a civil war is going to be pretty damn messy. I don't want it. You want it? You go somewhere else and have that. We don't need it here. So folks, think it over carefully. It concerns every one of us, not just Muslims. Because as I explained earlier, the Waqf board is only a land holding body. It is not a religious body. It has nothing to do with Islam or Hinduism or any other religion. Or let's put it this way, it is not supposed to interfere in any religious activities. Anyway, think it over. Pass it on to your friends. Let them think it over too. Like, subscribe. See you next time.